When you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal, even in a traffic jam. Save up to 30% with USAA Safe Pilot. Restrictions apply.
On today's Smart 7, Biden visits Israel, Putin gets cranky in China, and lots more. It's Thursday the 19th of October. It's New Friends Day, and happy birthday, Jon Favreau.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
US President Joe Biden arrived in Israel on Wednesday as tensions increased in the region. His visit was supposed to help to calm things, but an explosion at the Al Ali hospital late on Tuesday evening threw everything into chaos. The day was full of claims and counterclaims over whether the explosion was an Israeli airstrike or a misfiring missile fired by Islamic Jihad, but hundreds appeared to have died. President Biden held meetings with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but a planned summit in Jordan was cancelled after the incident at the hospital. The US President also hosted a joint press conference in Tel Aviv and called for calm.
But I caution this: while you feel that rage, don't be consumed by it. After 9/11, we were enraged in the United States. While we sought justice and got justice, we also made mistakes.
Humanitarian aid will begin to flow into Gaza on Friday, with Israel agreeing to let Egypt begin deliveries after a request from the US. Biden also pledged $100 million of humanitarian assistance from the American people. The explosion led to renewed protests and demonstrations around the world, with renewed calls for a ceasefire, including a motion at the UN Security Council that was blocked by the US. UN Secretary Antonio Guterres was one of the voices calling for a pause in the fighting.
I call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire to provide sufficient time and space to help realize my two appeals and to ease the epic human suffering we are witnessing. Too many lives and the fate of the entire region hang on the balance.
Tuesday sees two by-elections taking place in the UK in Mid-Bedfordshire and Tamworth. They're both Tory seats, but are unlikely to remain so. The focus at Prime Minister's Questions Time, though, was on Israel, and with Foreign Secretary James Cleverly due to travel to Egypt on Thursday and possibly onward to Turkey, Qatar and Bahrain, he was keen to emphasise that the current crisis needs to be de-escalated.
None of us know how this complex, protracted situation will develop, and both here in the UK and in the region, this is a time for cool heads and determination to make a positive difference.
Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer was calling for the House to speak with one voice when it came to condemning terrorism, but he was also cautioning that international law must be followed and that the Palestinian people are not Hamas. Rishi Sunak travelled to Israel on Wednesday night, and before he departed, he met with relatives of British Israelis who were believed to be held hostage by Hamas. He continues to back Israel's right to self-defence in the face of the threat of terrorism.
It is that vision of a more hopeful, peaceful future that Hamas tried to destroy, that we must redouble our efforts to try and bring that future about.
As Joe Biden visited Israel, Russia's President Putin continued his visit to China. He's attending the Belt and Road Summit. It's a Chinese infrastructure initiative aimed at helping to develop the global south. Over 100 world leaders have gathered for it, and Putin made a public statement while attending. His focus wasn't on infrastructure projects, though. Instead, he seemed annoyed at the US decision to supply long-range missiles to Ukraine. The so-called ATACMS scored a significant victory this week, destroying 9 Russian helicopters and an ammunition dump almost 100 miles into Russian-occupied territory, and Vladimir was sounding pretty bitter about it.
Let them take back the ATACMS and all other weapons, sit down to eat pancakes with us, and come over for a tea party. If the war is already over, what are we talking about? Why supply ATACMS? Ask them that question. It's funny.
The US political system seems no closer to getting itself back in working order after the latest attempt to elect a Republican Speaker of the House ended in failure. Jim Jordan, a longtime Trump supporter and prominent figure in the attempts to overthrow the 2020 election, had hoped to be elected Speaker of the House, the second most powerful position in American politics, but he failed again to get the 217 votes needed. He's expected to face a third vote on Thursday, but the clock is running out as the US heads towards another government shutdown.
The Honourable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 199. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212.
Still coming to Smart 7, Garrett Southgate is feeling positive and Simu Liu learns a lesson.
Right after this.
Most weight loss programs are short-term fixes, but managing your weight needs a long-term solution. And that's what makes Noom different. Noom uses science and personalization to help you manage your weight for the long term. Their psychology-based approach helps you build better habits and behaviors that are easier to maintain. The best part? You decide how Noom fits into your life, not the other way around. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com to sign up for your trial today.
Welcome back.
This week saw England wrap up their qualifying for Euro 2024. They still have 2 games to go in November against Malta and Northern Macedonia, but with 5 wins and a draw from 6 games, they're sitting top of their group and comfortably qualified already. England will be heading to Germany with a strong squad and players like Jude Bellingham showing real potential. So it's no surprise that manager Garrett Southgate sounds genuinely excited about his team's chances next summer.
We can't wait, really. I'm looking forward to being with the boys again next month. And then we've got friendlies that will be good preparation in March, and then a tournament for everybody to look forward to where I know we're going to take a lot of fans, and we're going to have a real crack.
Simu Liu has had a good summer after his starring role in the Barbie movie. He's also outed himself as a Swiftie, attending the Taylor Swift Eras movie preview this week in Los Angeles. He popped up on Jimmy Kimmel's show with a different kind of story, specifically about the time he accidentally drugged his elderly parents. The moral of the story seems to be, don't keep your edibles and magic mushrooms where your mom can find them.
My parents are house sitting for me. They never paid for delivery in their entire lives. And my mom starts foraging around the house for things to eat. And she's looking and she's looking and she finds her way into my walk-in closet. Yeah. So she finds what she thinks are gummy bears and trail mix with dried mushrooms inside. She's like, oh, these are snacks.
He's the Emperor of Short Kings. He was briefly Europe's most powerful man. He is Napoleon. Ridley Scott has directed and produced the true story of French General Napoleon Bonaparte and his rise to power. Joaquin Phoenix plays the Emperor, while Vanessa Kirby plays Empress Josephine. It hits cinemas on November 22nd, but don't expect to hear ABBA's Waterloo on the soundtrack, and watch out for the Emperor's American accent.
Those in power only see me as a brute, unfit for higher office, but I follow in the footsteps of Alexander the Great and Caesar. I must warn you, I will not lead a second in command. I will win by fire. I am destined for greatness.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right, so search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.